Hey, and welcome to another Tech Tuesday. This is Chad from Ascension Worship. This week I'm going to show you guys my favorite stupid cheap, awesome sounding in-ear solution. This is a wired solution that will give you 8 stereo mixes. You're not going to have to worry about batteries. You're not going to have to worry about a bunch of cable runs and power runs. It's just going to be one cable to each person. It's going to be very, very simple. So let's hop right into it and I'll show you what we got.
Hey, 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 what do you say? Yes, it's that time again. It's Tech Tuesday.
So the heart of today's system is going to be this guy right here. This is the Sterling Audio Sha8. This is an 8-channel headphone amplifier. And what's great about this guy is it's stupid cheap. It sounds good, it's plenty loud, and it's just an awesome piece of gear. If you're not familiar with Sterling Audio, they're basically Guitar Center's house brand now. So there's less middlemen involved. You can get them for very, very cheap. As of today, this is November 23, 2021. This guy's on sale for $100. Normally it's $140, which is still nothing for 8 channels of stereo. Now, the only downside to this unit is that it is stereo unbalanced inputs, meaning that you can't have it be super far away from your digital snake. So in today's example, we'd be talking about having something like this. This is the Behringer S32, where you'd have 16 XLR outs, and you'd want this to be in the same rack as your headphone amp. If you can't do that for some reason, if you need to be a little bit further away, another option that I'll just mention briefly before we move on is this guy. This is a Tascam Mh8. It's more expensive. This guy costs $500. But it has 16 balanced mono inputs, so you can do 8 stereo inputs using balanced connections. So if you do have to run a lengthy analog snake to get to your headphone amp, this is the unit you're going to want to use. But if not, you can save a ton of money by going with the Sterling. So let's talk about what kind of cabling we need to get from XLR, from something like an S32 into the Sterling. You can see on the rear, there are, for each output, there is a direct input. Again, that's a stereo unbalanced connection. And then there's a phone's output. So to get TRS into here, you're gonna wanna use a cable like this. Now, all these links will be in the description, but I wanted to show you this in case you catch this video years from now and maybe this cable doesn't exist anymore, or they've changed the name or whatever. So you'll notice there's a TRS that's gonna go into the headphone amp, and then there's 2 female XLRs that will come from your digital snake. Now, the important thing on here is to notice that one is one color, one is another color. These are color coded because one is wired to the tip of the TRS connector and one is wired to the ring of the TRS connector. If you get something where they're both the same color, it's probably actually acting like a splitter cable and it won't give you a stereo signal. So make sure you get something like this, or exactly this if you go with my link. So these will come out of your digital snake into the back of the headphone amp. Now, the next thing we need to do is take the phone's output from the headphone amp and get that to our musicians via an XLR connection. So what we're gonna do in that case is get something like this. This is a cheap XLR to TRS snake, so XLR male to TRS. So this is gonna come out of the back of the headphone amp and then convert each of those connections to an XLR connection. In this case, instead of sending a ground, a positive, and a negative, we're gonna send a ground, an amplified left, and an amplified right. And you're basically using your XLR cable like a small, low voltage speaker cable instead of running bulky speaker cables. And because we're running little tiny in-ears, we can get away with that. So we'll have this, and then coming out of the back of your rack, you'll have your 8 XLR male connectors. We obviously need to get those to our musicians. This is a 5-foot cable. So you can just use standard XLR cable, one of the cheapest options you can get is Amazon Basics. It's actually pretty good, especially for this purpose. So for today's purpose, we're gonna look at what it would cost to have 4 25-footers. And the 25-footers are currently only $12 a piece. The 50-footers are only $17, which is crazy. So if we were to have 4 25s, 4 50s, if this is based in the center of your stage, you can have a 100-foot spread, and that should cover you pretty well. At each musician, you're going to have something like this. This is the Elite Core wired body pack. This is an attenuator, not an headphone amp. And what's important about that is that you can get headphone amps that are about this size you can put on your body that are going to amplify a signal. But to get that to work, you're usually gonna need to have, you know, maybe as many as 3 cables if you're gonna have power run, or you're gonna have to have batteries. It's just bulky and they usually don't sound that good. The cool thing about this is that the attenuator has very little effect on your sound apart from volume. And you're getting a very good sound from the Sterling headphone amp or whatever headphone amp you're using. And this is just allowing the musician to have volume control on their hip rather than walking over to the headphone amp or trying to adjust it on an app. So definitely worth having. They're built really well. It's just a single XLR connection on the bottom, and then it's a headphone connection on the top, and then an attenuator knob. So these are great. And then you could stop here if your musicians already have their own actual in-ear buds, or if you want to spend just a little bit more, these are great for $41. The Cca C10s are an excellent starting in-ear bud. They've got 5 drivers in each ear, so they're gonna work well for a vocalist, but also if you're a drummer or a bass player and you need more volume and you need a lot of low-end response, these can definitely handle. So to put all this in perspective, if you were to do everything I just talked about here, now we're not counting the S32, we're just talking about the actual in-ear side of things. 8 stereo in-ears, including the in-ear buds, comes out to less than $1,000 before tax and shipping. When you compare that to 1 stereo Sennheiser unit, which is what I suggest if you're gonna go wireless, the wireless Sennheiser is gonna cost about $1,000 if you were to buy it just off the internet. So to have 8 times as many people with a good set of in-ears for the same price is just crazy. So I highly suggest, especially if you're brand new to in-ears, use as many wired in-ears as you can, especially for drums, keyboards, most guitarists. They really don't need to be wireless, and now you don't have to deal with wireless issues, the FCC selling off frequency bands, any of that kind of nonsense. As long as the cable is working, you're gonna have a great sound. And then it's so much cheaper. And then just over time, start replacing certain people with wireless as you need. So usually your worship leaders, if they're in the center, and they have to move when the pastor comes out, that's where you wanna spend your money on wireless. But to get wireless for a drummer or a keyboard player is just a waste of money and usually doesn't sound as good as a wired solution anyway. So definitely check this out. I think you're gonna really like it. It's definitely worked really, really well in the churches that I've set this up in so far. One quick note too, if you're watching this when it comes out, this week is Thanksgiving, and well, to all my viewers, but especially to my American viewers, I just wanna tell you guys, be grateful for what you have. Yes, there are things in this country that could be different, but in talking to new immigrant friends recently, and you know, I know a lot of people that live in different countries, we have it pretty dang good in America, and that doesn't mean we can't keep fighting to make things better, but I think it's important that we take a moment and reflect on what we do have, be thankful to God, be thankful to those that came before us, and to continue just to make things better and better with whatever you can to make that be your reality. But it all starts with your own mindset and how you see the world. So I encourage you to look around and see the things you're grateful for, and just start there. Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful. Until next time, have a great week. Again, Again, this is Chad from Ascension Worship. I hope this has been helpful for you and your team. Come back here every Tuesday for new information.